It was supposed to be a 3-day job. In and out. Show up, wear the suit, smile like I meant it. It was supposed to be a 3-day job. In and out. Show up, wear the suit, smile like I meant it, and pretend I was his better half. No questions. No complications. Just enough chemistry to fool the room, and not enough emotion to stick around after the check cleared. He said his name was Weldon Merrick. Told me everything over an oat milk latte in a rust-wash cafe in Midtown Tulsa. The kind of place with exposed brick walls and quiet jazz leaking from ceiling speakers. He talked like he was ordering drywall, cold, calculated. Eyes so unreadable I thought he might be military. The kind of man who didn't blink unless it was part of the plan. I need someone who can lie convincingly with their body, he said, fingers wrapped around the coffee cup like he was keeping secrets warm. And I'm willing to pay for discretion. I almost laughed. Thought it was some kind of elaborate kink, some power play fantasy. But then he slid a napkin across the table. I unfolded it like it might burn me. 5 figures. Neat, clean. A round number. For a weekend. In a lakeside house full of old money, brittle smiles, and one ex-boyfriend he wanted to make squirm. You're not jealous, I said, watching him. You're wounded. He didn't deny it. Just looked out the window for a beat too long and said, Can you do it? I nodded. His fingers brushed mine when we met at the airport. No cameras yet. No crowd. Just a check-in line that smelled like Starbucks and anxiety, and a strange, hollow silence between us. The kind of silence where every sound around you feels louder. My nerves hummed underneath my coat, and I hated that I was nervous at all. He leaned in just enough for only me to hear. Don't flinch when I touch you. If you're mine, act like it. I looked him in the eye. Then touch me like I'm yours. That got his attention. He blinked just once. The ghost of a smirk pulled at the corner of his mouth, but it didn't land. Not fully. He stepped closer, close enough that his arm brushed against mine as we moved through security. Our shoes in plastic trays, our lie already beginning to harden into something almost real. The plane ride was quiet. He pulled a book from his leather bag. A thick hardback on climate economics with a forest green cover and dog-eared pages. He read with focus, posture upright, never slouching, as if letting his body relax would somehow let me in. I didn't talk. I stared out the window at the clouds, pale and endless, trying not to think about the fake engagement ring tucked in the zippered pocket of my carry-on. Trying not to think about the fact that the man beside me smelled like cedarwood and cold ambition, and that I couldn't decide if I wanted to kiss him or disappear. We didn't speak until the wheels hit the runway. When we landed, he moved on instinct. No hesitation. He reached out and placed his hand on the small of my back as we walked off the jet bridge. Fingers firm, familiar, like this was something he'd done 100 times before with someone who actually loved him. That was the first moment I knew we were both in over our heads. And we hadn't even made it to the house yet. The house was all sharp angles and family history. White oak floors that creaked under careful steps, polished to a shine that looked slippery with wealth. Taxidermy lined the study walls, stiff-eyed bucks, a snarling bobcat, a mounted pheasant mid-flight like it had died in protest. There were oil portraits in every hallway, all unsmiling men with high foreheads and narrow mouths. Their eyes seemed to follow you, even when you tried not to care. And there he was, the ex, Beau Withrow. Of course his name was Beau. It was the kind of name that carried entitlement in its vowels. Picture perfect, tan like it was maintained year-round, tight like he hadn't had a carb since 2015, teeth so white they could file a trademark. And beside him stood the new boyfriend, taller, soft-jawed, dressed like a minimalist catalog spread, down to the rolled sleeves and curated watch. Weldon's jaw flexed once. Just once. No words. No eye contact. But I saw the shift, shoulders locked, spine straightened, his expression smoothing into the kind of practiced neutrality that looked like power but felt like defense. We kissed in front of them. I didn't expect it. He didn't warn me. 1 second I was standing by his side, hands tucked politely in the pockets of my gray wool coat, and the next, his fingers were on my jaw, firm but not rough, tilting my face just enough to meet his mouth with calculated, almost desperate precision. It wasn't a stage kiss. It was heat and precision wrapped in silence. A performance, sure, but one that seemed to crack at the edges the longer it lasted. His mouth moved with intention, not gentleness. Like he was trying to make a point without saying a word. Like he was grounding himself, bracing himself, using me as something to hold on to when everything else had tilted out of frame. When he pulled away, his hand lingered a second too long. Just a second. He didn't blink, didn't glance at Bo. Just let the silence stretch until it started to fray. Then softly, like it was something we only shared, he whispered, "That was good." I didn't hesitate. I leaned closer, my breath catching the corner of his cheek, and said, "You're welcome." We walked inside hand in hand. Later that night, we had to practice our story. The version of us we were selling to the world. How we met. Our first fight. Our favorite thing about each other. It was late, close to midnight, and the house had gone quiet except for the occasional creak of settling wood and the hum of something electric through the floorboards. We sat on the guest bed, knee to knee, our bags half unpacked around us, our rings glinting softly in the muted lamplight. "You said we met at a gallery," I reminded him, voice low, words thick with sleep or wine or something unnamed. He nodded once. "You asked me if I hated the art, or if I just hated myself." I smiled at the memory we made up, but both remembered now like it was real. "And you said, both." He looked down at my hand. His fingers moved before his eyes did. Just barely grazed my wrist, like he was checking for a pulse, or for permission, or maybe hoping to catch me lying again. I didn't mean to lean in. It just happened, 1 inch at a time, like something magnetic was winding inside my ribs and pulling me toward him. Slowly, almost shyly. I was close enough to smell the whiskey on his breath and the clean starch of his collar before he moved. He met me halfway. And this time, when we kissed, it wasn't about Bo. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about playing a role. It was quiet and slow and full of something thick and unnamed. A question we hadn't asked. A door we hadn't dared open until that second. His lips were softer this time. Not tentative, just different. Curious. Searching. Like he wanted to memorize the shape of it. Just in case. When we broke apart, he didn't say anything. Neither did I. Because whatever we were doing, it wasn't pretending anymore. "You're too good at this," he said the next morning. His voice was hoarse with sleep, his words barely audible over the hum of wind slipping through the old lake house windows. We were still in the same bed, his bed, sheets tangled around our legs. The kind of mess you don't bother cleaning when the weight of the night still lingers on your skin. His arm was thrown across his eyes, a makeshift shield from the morning light spilling in through slatted blinds. But it felt more like he was trying to hide from something else. Something heavier. Something real. I lay there beside him, staring at the ceiling, tracing the water stain in the corner with my eyes like it held the answer to something neither of us was ready to name. "I'm not acting anymore," I said finally. Quiet, like a confession. "Are you?" He didn't answer. Not right away. There was just a long breath. One of those deep ones you take when you're buying time. When silence is safer than honesty. But then his hand moved. Slow, cautious, as if it might break some invisible rule. It slid across the sheet, fingers finding mine like it wasn't even a decision, like it had always known the way. He laced them together gently, like it was habit, like it had always been this. The dock creaked under my boots, weathered with shifting like it was trying to warn me. Lake water lapped against the pylons below, slow and cold. The sky was a dull gray, like the kind of mood that never lifts. And there he was, leaning against a post, arms crossed, sunglasses pushed up into that perfect hair like a man who didn't believe in shadows following him. He didn't smile, just looked at me the way people look at broken clocks, like they used to care what time it was, but not anymore. He's not who you think he is, he said. Just like that. No preamble. No softening. I tilted my head. Smirked, just a little. Neither am I. His voice dropped. Low. Acidic. You're a prop. Just like I was. That hit harder than I expected. He wasn't wrong. Not completely. But truth spoken out of spite still tastes bitter. I stepped closer. Close enough to smell the aftershave and the smugness. You think that's news to me? I said. You think I don't know the script I walked into? The role I was cast in. His mouth curled, but not into a smile. You don't have to play dumb. I'm not playing anything, I said. Except maybe the part where I walk away with more than you ever had. He didn't respond. Just blinked, like he hadn't expected that to hurt. It did. I walked away without punching him. Barely. Weldon met me just inside the den, still in yesterday's shirt, sleeves rolled, collar open like he hadn't bothered to pretend he'd slept. The tie he'd worn to the cocktail hour was still draped on the back of a chair like something abandoned in the middle of a storm. He was pouring whiskey into a crystal glass. Not a splash. A pour. His hand was steady, but his knuckles were white around the bottle. The kind of white that betrays the calm face he wore like armor. He told you something, he said, not looking at me. It wasn't a question. I shut the door behind me, let the silence sit for a second. The room smelled like dust and firewood and something deeper. Regret, maybe. I told him he didn't matter, I said. He looked at me then. Really looked. Like he was trying to figure out whether I meant it. I did. He stepped toward me. Slowly. Deliberately. Like every step required permission from something inside him that hadn't agreed to this yet. Why do you keep defending me? He asked. The air shifted. He was close now. Close enough that I could see the crack in the facade. The weight behind his eyes. The sharp breath he was holding like if he let it go, everything would fall apart. I didn't back up. Because you hired me to be yours, I whispered, my voice catching somewhere in my throat. And somewhere along the way, I forgot how to be anything else. He didn't touch me, but he didn't move away either. We didn't fake it after that. Every touch felt loaded. Every glance across the room like a live wire. We made love in a way that felt like screaming without sound. Clothes off, walls down, eyes open. He didn't say my name. He just said, "Don't leave." I said, "Then ask me to stay." He didn't. He just pulled me closer and kissed me until I forgot how to breathe. The contract ended. He didn't pay the second half. "I want you to stay," he said. But not because of money. Because of me. I laughed. Then ask. "I'm trying," he whispered. "I've never wanted someone like this." So I stayed.